The air in Atlanta feels different this summer, heavy with hope, thick with pressure. As the 2025 season looms, the Falcons aren't just chasing wins, they're chasing identity. And at the center of it all, a man once labeled a generational talent, Kyle Pitts. When the Falcons used their fourth overall pick in 2021 to draft him, they didn't just draft a tight end. They drafted a dream, a unicorn who could change how the NFL viewed the position. He was going to leap over linebackers, run past corners, and tilt the field in Atlanta's favor. But dreams are fragile. 3 years in, the numbers tell a story that's both respectable and frustrating. Strong rookie campaign, a dip, and then fading relevance. Not bad, but not great. And for a player with next Travis Kelce expectations, not great, might as well be a curse. Now, 2025 isn't just another season for Kyle Pitts. It's the season. The Falcons picked up his fifth-year option, sure. But that doesn't mean patience. It means pressure. It means front office whispers, locker room stares, and fan base frustration. And yet, for the first time, maybe the stars are quietly aligning. Atlanta has a new gunslinger under center. Michael Penix Jr., fearless, cannon-armed, unpredictable. The kind of quarterback who doesn't just throw checkdowns, he goes for the jugular. And that's exactly the kind of firepower Kyle Pitts was built for. This isn't just about routes or stats anymore. It's about redemption, about legacy, about a young man staring down the final chapter of his Atlanta story with one last shot to turn the promise into proof. And as the Falcons prepare for war in the NFC South, their fate may rest on whether the unicorn can finally take flight or quietly fade into just another what if. Behind every star struggling to rise is a team holding its breath and a depth chart quietly reshaping the future. As Kyle Pitts enters his make or break season, the Falcons aren't just crossing their fingers, they're hedging their bets. Coaches have been relentless in drilling fundamentals. Run blocking, pass protection, toughness in the trenches. Pitts has always had the flash. Now they're demanding grit. Because here's the dream scenario. Pitts turns a corner. He builds trust with Michael Penix Jr., becomes his go-to on third down and in the red zone. We're talking 1,000 yards, double-digit touchdowns, a nightmare matchup every Sunday. The kind of weapon defenses game plan around, that's the version of Pitts that could redefine this offense. But what if that player never shows up? Atlanta knows that hope is not a strategy. Another year of inconsistency, the highlight reel plays, followed by long stretches of silence, and this front office will have a decision to make. Pitts may only be 24, but the NFL waits for no one, and potential doesn't pay the bills. Yet, amid all the spotlight drama, there's a quiet engine in this tight end room, Charlie Warner. No highlight reels, no flashy numbers, just dirty work, the kind that wins games. In the final stretch of 2024, Warner was on the field more than anyone expected, logging over 55% of offensive snaps in 6 of the last 9 games. And when Bijan Robinson or Tyler Algier broke off chunk runs, look closely. Warner was probably clearing the path. He's not going to catch 5 balls a game. He may not even get 5 targets a month. But his blocking, elite. He's the kind of unsung hero who doesn't make headlines, but keeps the offense moving. And if he continues on this trajectory, the Falcons may not wait until 2026. A contract extension could come much sooner. But the story doesn't end there. Buried deeper on the roster is a position battle that few are watching, but could shape the future of Atlanta's offense. The race for the third tight end isn't about just filling a spot. It's about who could be next if Pitts flames out. 4 names. 4 very different stories. Philippe Franks, the quarterback turned tight end that nobody took seriously. A pet project under Arthur Smith, once laughed off by fans. But now, after a stint with the Panthers and a special teams resurgence, he's stronger, smarter, and finally gaining traction as a blocker. Then there's Tegan Quitoriano, Nikola Kalinick, and Josh Simon, each with traits worth developing, each fighting not just for a roster spot, but for relevance. This battle might not trend on social media, but it matters. Because if Pitts doesn't become what Atlanta hoped, one of these guys might be forced into the spotlight, ready or not. And that's the beauty and brutality of the NFL. The line between franchise cornerstone and forgotten prospect? It's razor thin. Philippe Franks is back, and he's not just here to fill a roster spot. He's here to prove everyone wrong. The former quarterback turned tight end once carried the project label, a joke to some, a long shot to most. But after a brief detour to Carolina and a strong special teams resurgence, Franks returns to Atlanta with something he didn't have before: purpose. His rare mix of size, speed, and versatility makes him more than just a body. It gives him a real shot at locking down the third tight end spot. And maybe, just maybe, more than that. If he can sharpen his routes, he's got the potential to sneak in as a passing option when defenses least expect it. Still, he's not alone in this fight. Tegan Quitoriano brings the old-school bruiser mentality, the kind of tight end who thrives in the mud. His run blocking is solid, earning respect from the coaching staff. But pass protection? That's still a liability. And in a league that thrives on versatility, Quitoriano will need to deliver a monster training camp to unseat Franks. It's a close race, and the Falcons might need both to lean into their strengths just to survive cut day. Then come the long shots. Nikola Kalinick, once a depth piece in LA, has barely seen the field, but those who've watched closely saw flashes. Quick hands, fluid movement, a rapport perhaps with Falcons coordinators Zach Robinson and Raheem Morris, dating back to their Rams connection. That familiarity might buy him an extra look, but it won't buy him a job. He'll need to earn that with pads on. And then, quietly waiting, is Josh Simon, the dark horse. Undrafted, unheralded, but deadly in the red zone during his college days. He's got reliable hands and just enough sneaky athleticism to be dangerous. If he shows up in camp with the same edge he had in college, he could leapfrog his way onto the roster, or at least earn a spot on the practice squad. These are the names fans rarely talk about. But the outcome of this tight end battle could quietly shape Atlanta's offensive depth for years to come. Because one injury, one missed block, one breakout play, and any of these guys could be thrust into the spotlight with everything on the line. But while Atlanta's tight end room brews with hidden drama, down in Carolina, things just exploded. The Panthers had their eyes on a veteran, a difference maker, a player they believed could solidify their struggling secondary before the season opener against Jacksonville. Instead, rejected, flat out. A brutal snub that's left their front office scrambling and exposed. The Carolina Panthers thought they had their guy. Justin Simmons, a two-time Pro Bowl safety, a proven leader, a veteran still playing at a high level. The kind of player who brings not just production, but presence. They made the call. They leaned on the connection with defensive coordinator Ejiro Evero, hoping old bonds would seal the deal. But the answer was short and brutal. No. Simmons didn't sugarcoat it either. In an interview with the Denver Post, he laid it bare. At this stage of my career, I want a ring. A real shot. A contender. That's number one on the list. He didn't even hesitate to twist the knife. Last year, I'd still pick Atlanta 10 times out of 10. For Carolina, that wasn't just a mis-signing. It was a wake-up call. This isn't about money. It's not about scheme. It's about perception. About reputation, about a franchise still clawing its way out of irrelevance, being reminded publicly that it hasn't arrived yet. It stings. For the front office, for the fans, for a locker room that's been told to believe the rebuild is almost over. Because when players like Simmons pass you over, they're not just saying no to a contract. They're saying no to your vision. And yet, GM Dan Morgan isn't panicking. Not yet. There's still time. Cuts are coming across the league. Veterans will shake loose. Training camp always reveals surprises. The right player might still walk through that door. But make no mistake, the message has been sent. Until Carolina builds a culture of winning, it won't just lose games. It'll lose chances, talent, belief. And as for the Falcons, their story now circles back to one name, Kyle Pitts. If he and Michael Penix Jr. find that magic, if they click the way great duos do, this Atlanta offense could become something terrifying. Drake London, Bijan Robinson, and Pitts on the same field? That's not a lineup. That's a nightmare. But if Pitts can't rise, then this dream cracks. Trade talks begin. The Falcons may be forced to move on, pivot towards someone new, and reshape their identity again. That's why the battle for the third tight end spot isn't just about backups, it's about insurance and possibility. Franks, Simon, Kitoriano. One of them could become more than just a name buried on the roster. One of them might become the next man up. And over in Carolina, they'll be watching from the sidelines, hoping that soon, someday, players like Simmons won't say no. The Justin Simmons snub wasn't just a missed signing, it was a mirror. A mirror reflecting where the Panthers truly stand in the eyes of the league. Talented? Sure. Promising? Maybe. But a destination? Not yet. For GM Dan Morgan, the message is clear. If Carolina wants to compete in a division where every inch is earned, they can't afford to just chase names. They need to build belief. Fast. The Jaguars are coming in week 1, and that offense isn't going to wait for Carolina's defense to catch up. This moment, right now, is a crossroads. A single signing won't change everything, but one statement move in the secondary could set the tone for a season that proves Simmons wrong and proves to the league that Carolina is done being overlooked. Meanwhile, 250 miles west in Atlanta, the questions swirl just as loudly. Can Kyle Pitts deliver on the dream that once electrified this franchise? Or are the Falcons quietly preparing for life without their unicorn? Because in the NFL, time doesn't just tick, it devours. And for every star player in limbo, there's a hungry underdog waiting in the wings. Franks, Simon, Warner. The pieces are there. The potential is there. All that remains is the spark. The 2025 offseason is far from over, and the dominoes are still falling. What we're seeing now isn't just rumor and roster shuffling. It's transformation. The early chapters of a story that will define both franchises for years to come. Because in this league, glory belongs to the bold. Relevance is never guaranteed. And legacy? That has to be earned, one brutal decision at a time.